Most people hear long layover and think, no thanks, but not me. I'm currently on a free mini vacation here in Mainz, Germany that I booked for free using a little-known travel hack called Stopovers. This hack lets you book vacations within your vacation, and in some cases, the airline will even pay for your hotel during a stopover, but there is a lot of nuance to this travel hack. So during our stopover here in Germany, I thought I'd take some time to explain everything you need to know about stopovers so that you can book your own mini vacation. Before we get into the details on how all of this works and the best stopover programs, I want to give a huge shout out to Mike and Megan, who did a detailed Daily Drop podcast episode a few months ago on this exact topic. And that was literally the podcast that taught me everything I needed to know about stopovers to book this particular stay that I'm currently on. I'll link to that podcast episode down in the description if you want more details, because like I said, this can be a little bit complicated. So let's start by explaining what a stopover actually is. You've probably heard the term layover before, which is typically defined as a stop at a connecting airport for less than 23 hours on your way to your final destination. So when I fly from Baltimore to Los Angeles, I frequently have a layover for a few hours in Denver. A stopover, on the other hand, is essentially a layover that lasts for more than 24 hours. At face value, I realize that may sound horrible, but learning how to use stopovers to your advantage can allow you to explore cities that you may otherwise not visit. And you can create mini vacations within other vacations, and in some cases, the airline will literally pay for your hotel during a stopover. Plus, one thing you'll be happy to hear if you're not a miles and points connoisseur is you can still take advantage of stopover programs on cash bookings as well, and I'm gonna cover some of the best cash options later in the video. So like I said, I'm currently on a stopover here in Mainz, Germany as I head from Prague back to Washington, DC. So instead of having a short layover for a few hours in Germany and just sitting around at the airport, I intentionally scheduled a 2-day stopover, which allows us to explore Germany for a few days, recover a bit from the crazy non-stop adventure that we just finished, and it was more cost-effective than booking 2 separate flights. Prague to Frankfurt would have cost about $226, and then Frankfurt to IAD would have been another $1,463, for a grand total of $1,689 to fly from Prague to Washington and stop in Frankfurt. But instead, if I booked that same itinerary directly from Prague to Washington, but scheduled a stopover in Frankfurt, the exact same itinerary on the exact same day is just $947, which means I just saved $742 just by changing the way that I booked my itinerary. And since I'm traveling with my wife, that's a total savings of almost $1,500. Now, in our case, we booked this itinerary using points through Aeroplan, which is one of the best loyalty programs for booking award seat stopovers. We just transferred points from American Express to Aeroplan and booked the Lufthansa flight I just showed you using 45,000 Aeroplan points each. But again, you can take advantage of this even if you don't have any miles or points. I promise we're gonna get to some of the best cash examples in a second, but staying on the top of award flight stopovers, Aeroplan is one of your best options. They'll only charge 5,000 extra points to book a stopover. You can book stopovers up to 45 days, which allows you to get really creative with this travel hack. Plus, these benefits apply to their nearly 50 airline partners, which is exactly how we were able to book a Lufthansa stopover through Aeroplan. There are some weird restrictions, like you can't do stopovers within North America, and there are some distance requirements as well, and these weird caveats do change from one program to the next, so you'll definitely want to do thorough research before booking your stopover. My next favorite stopover program is through Air France and KLM's Flying Blue Rewards program. We actually flew here on KLM business class, which we booked using a Flying Blue Rewards promo, and you can learn more about that in this video. But these Flying Blue promos are already one of the most affordable ways to travel to Europe using points, and being able to combine this already great program with stopovers, again, opens quite literally a world of possibilities on your next trip. Now, booking with Flying Blue is a little bit more complicated when it comes to stopovers, since you do have to find both award tickets individually, and then call them to actually book the stopover on the same itinerary, whereas programs like Aeroplan that we just talked about allow you to do it right through the website. But the stopover availability is a recent update from the Flying Blue program that I will definitely take advantage of in the future. And it doesn't cost you any extra money or points. That's right, adding a stopover that can last anywhere from 24 hours up to 1 year doesn't cost anything extra. And if any of you have booked a 1-year stopover, definitely let me know down in the comments. Last up on the award side of things is the British Airways Avios program, which lets you book stopovers in London, and since London is literally the center of the map, and British Airways has a ton of connecting flights out of London, that again makes it a fantastic option for stopovers. Now, do keep in mind that any flight that touches the UK is typically subject to some higher taxes and fees, but the flexibility of options and ability to transfer points to British Airways Avios program from most major card providers makes this a great stopover program for award bookings. Okay, there are so many other examples we could talk about, so again, definitely check out the full Daily Drop podcast episode on this topic from Mike and Megan if you want more examples. But let's talk about cash bookings, because this is where the real benefit of stopovers lies, in my opinion. Every program is going to have slightly different rules and booking processes, but first up is Turkish Airlines, which, if you didn't know, is actually the largest airline in the world, meaning they serve more destinations than any other airline. It's also another great central location, especially if you're heading further east, so you could book a stopover in Istanbul, explore the city for a few days before moving on to your final destination. And here's the crazy part. Turkish Airlines will literally pay for your hotel as part of your stopover. Economy passengers can get 1 night in a 4-star hotel, and business class passengers can get 2 nights in a 5-star hotel, both free of charge. All you have to do is book your stopover itinerary and then submit a simple hotel request form online. One of my personal favorites is Iceland Air, who offers stopovers of up to 7 days on round-trip bookings to Europe for free. And if you've never been to Iceland before, I cannot recommend it enough. My wife and I spent a week driving the entire ring road of Iceland last year, so you could use the stopover to add a whole other adventure to your existing vacation, or just stay a few nights in Reykjavik and explore what is already an incredibly unique city on its own. I could continue to go through examples, and each one has its own quirks, but a few others you might want to look into are TAP Air, which allow you to stop over in Portugal, Qatar Airways, which lets you stop over in Doha, and Etihad, which lets you stop over in the UAE. And all of those examples offer different discounts on other travel, and in some cases, hotel packages like Etihad, who will once again give you up to 2 nights in a hotel for free. As you've probably noticed, you have a lot of options here, and it's definitely something that requires a good amount of research on your part, but it is well worth it in my opinion. That being said, as awesome as stopovers are, there are a few caveats that we should discuss. First of all, even if the stopover itself does not cost you any additional money or points, you may still be charged higher taxes or fees, since some airports charge a departure tax simply for the courtesy of using their runway. It's also important to keep in mind here that while the endless possibilities are very exciting, sometimes a long layover is more than enough time to explore a new city. You could, for example, book a similar itinerary with a 20-hour layover, avoid the higher taxes and fees that we just talked about, and still have plenty of time to explore a new city. Some airports even offer layover programs where they will give you a tour of the city during your layover, and you can find all kinds of options from sites like Viator, where you can literally be picked up from the airport. They will have a customized itinerary just for you, and they'll drop you off back at the airport in time for your next flight. Okay, last thing, in some odd cases, it may actually be more expensive to book a stopover than just booking 2 separate tickets. That's not super common in my experience, but it is worth at least checking the price of your stopover itinerary, and then checking the price of separately booking those tickets to make sure that you are getting the best value out of your hard-earned money or points. Alright, I think I've said the word stopover enough for one day, so I'm gonna go enjoy the limited time that we have here in Germany, but let me know down in the comments what cities you've been able to explore using this travel hack. And again, if you want more detailed information on this topic, then I'll link to Mike and Megan's Daily Drop podcast episode down in the description. As always, thank you so much for watching, and until next time, happy travel hacking.